Good night, sweetie. We're going to hell and that's okay.
Down to see the
We're going to
devil.
hell and that's okay.
Go to the bottom.
We're going to hell and that's okay. Yeah. We're going to hell and that's okay. We're going to hell and that's...
I believe we're live.
I believe so.
Hi, Internet world. My name is John Dashler. I'm a homosexual.
Welcome to the Mike and Trannon Power Hour.
The hour of power.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Trannon.
No, I'm Trannon, and this is Mike. And
Often, every other
today,
Tuesday.
we're going to be talking about two important albums.
Incredibly important album.
All right, we're going to start with, who you want to start with?
Roy.
All right, let's start with Roy Harper. Roy Harper is
The oyster.
give you a little bit of background on Roy.
He likes seafood.
He's an English folk singer, major influence over bands like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. I actually performed on a Pink Floyd album, and Led Zeppelin had a song off one of their albums called Hats Off to Harper, and that's the guy they're talking about. So, anyways, he makes an album in 1966 called Sophisticated Beggar. This is an English folk album, really unique style. Sort of reminds me if you've ever heard of the Charles Manson
Yes.
Lie album.
Yeah, probably in the top tier of finger pickers.
Oh, I'd say
No,
definitely.
out there, easily. Which I think is what's really great about that album, personally, in my opinion, is that if you extract the vocals, you have a fantastic instrumental. But
Oh,
with
definitely.
the vocals, not only do you capture the time the album was made and recorded, but his ever-present ability with lyrics, which you can tell John Keats was a huge influence on him, just in the way he writes his music.
I think that his influence musically, he was an influence musically on Jimmy Page,
Yes.
and you can tell by the way some of Jimmy Page's acoustic music on some of the Led Zeppelin albums. Harper has a very unique style. It almost even incorporates like Indian music
Mm-hmm.
to in some of his songs off Sophisticated Beggar album.
One other thing that's really awesome going for him.
What's that?
He looks like Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
So he could get a gig in acting if the music doesn't work out after 45 years.
He was charged with sex crimes in England.
How the mighty
So,
fall. What did he do?
Allegedly. Allegedly messing around with a teenage girl in the 70s.
That'll get you every time.
Yeah. Don't do it in the 70s.
Nah, 60s.
Yeah, you might be
80s if
cool if
you're
it was in the 60s,
a
but not in the
pop star.
70s. 70s, the decade of excess,
Yeah.
and then the 80s, the decade of more excess.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll see how that pans out for Mr. Harper. But as far as his music panning out, it pans out very well.
I agree.
I think some of the songs off the album that I really like, all of them, obviously. Sophisticated Beggar, of course, the title track of the album. My Friend is a good song off that. And that really showcases, I think, his finger-picking talent.
I agree. I think Blackpool does as well, which the song is predominantly instrumental, actually. The vocals don't come in until the latter half, if not the last quarter of the song. And for whatever reason, I hear Norwegian wood in that as well. I don't know why.
Yeah, I can hear that. It's sort of, I don't know, have you ever listened to any Harry Nilsson?
Some. Mm-hmm.
He's sort of got that little quirk about him like Harry Nilsson has. But the album is really, I think it's probably one of the most influential albums, but one of the least known albums, unlike the band that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, I think that overall, I would recommend Roy Harper's Sophisticated Beggar. I think that the album deserves the highest accolades.
2 thumbs up from this side of the table.
For Roy Harper. 2 thumbs up. So that's
Go buy the album.
and if you're a cheapskate like us, you can listen to it online
Spotify has it.
and cheat
YouTube.
Roy out of some money.
And cheat Roy out of some money, which he needs that money for.
Yeah,
his
he
legal
needs that
counsel.
money for his if you want to help Roy out, you need to go buy the album.
And don't diddle teenagers if you go back in time to the 70s.
Exactly. Okay, so next up is the New York Dolls 1973 album, The
Yes.
New York Dolls.
New York Dolls.
Tell us a little bit about the New
Their
York
first album, and really only one of two in their original lineup, which arguably was their best album, and influenced such acts as Kiss,
Motley
the
Crue.
Sex Pistols, Motley Crue, a slew of other artists. That wonderful New York post-hippie, pre-pop, not pop, but pre-synth, grungy, nasty 70s exploitation.
Trash rock.
Trash rock in its glorious form. Back when David Bowie was still flirting with the sexuality. Around that time frame. They were doing it.
I think the thing that appeals to me about that album in particular is when I first listened to the album, I'd actually heard of the Brian Jonestown's Massacres album and the albums of Manic Street Preachers before I had ever even heard of the New York Dolls.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the influence that I heard, but obviously it would be the other way around with the New York Dolls influence.
Yeah. What's so funny though is you have an early 70s debut album from a trash punk group basically out of New York. Trash in a good way. I don't mean a bad way. Who has a cover of a Bo Diddley song on their album?
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say about the album. It's when I first heard it, I was, you kind of have a preconceived notion of what the album's going to sound like,
especially by looking at the cover.
and I was
androgynous men on the cover.
not excited about what may be in store. But actually, I found it a pleasant experience because there's a lot of variety
Yeah, absolutely.
on the album
Yeah,
that I
there
was
is.
not expecting.
And little known fact, when they went into the studio to record that album, they dressed the same as when they did for live shows. So the producer and the mixer had to basically say, dudes, quit diving it up.
Yeah,
Just play the damn music.
I think it really
Like the first time we went to the studio
sure.
and we were naked,
I remember
and he's
that.
like, put clothes on.
But we couldn't perform that way.
We didn't
Because
even bring our
always-
instruments. We
we'd
just
already-
went in naked.
we'd always played naked.
This is true.
So, it's difficult to
It'll
play.
catch on one day, but not now. But back to the New York Dolls, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was reminiscing.
I wonder if they played naked.
I don't know. Well, the first two albums
Fun.
I would highly recommend people getting, especially New York Dolls, self-titled album, New York Dolls. Go get it. Don't be a cheapskate, or be a cheapskate. It doesn't matter. Rest in peace, Johnny Thunders. I'm not Catholic.
I think
Yet.
I think I'll have to give it a thumbs up.
Che Guevara gives it a thumbs up.
Reluctantly.
The Cuban Missile over here.
Uh,
Just wait for it.